Wow. Dopeness. Talking about getting on? Oh, interesting. See if I can hit him up on Twitter. Right. Okay. I don't hear anything differently. Yeah. I'm in my garage, so it's a little chilly outside, so it actually feels fairly decent. Oh, hey, hold on one quick second. Man, that was weird. Man, I heard somebody talking outside my garage door. Boy. I need to do this. I need to hurry up with this phone and give me some heat. Yeah, I need to go ahead and just give me some heat. Me. Yeah. But he's not lying. Man. It hurts, but it's facts, bro. It's absolute facts, man. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, I can't stand her, man. I really can't. Right, man. That real talk, bro. You know what I'm saying, man? Man, let's get it, bro. Shucks, man. Yeah, let's get it, dude. Yeah, man, I'm ready to rock, bro. I'm ready to rock, and I think this time around, man, I think I'm gonna have a decent pardon shot. I'll come up with one. Yeah, right, huh? Sunday.
It's always the last 5 minutes of your By the way, the mic's hot, so they can hear you. If anyone's watching right now, you can hear us. But we're just getting ready.
We're just sitting here talking trash,
calling out your request medications.
Live on 5.
Live on the 5. It's the zoo in the morning. It's the bear and the alligator in the morning.
Oh, 93.4 Hot Radio.
It's always in like the 90s or 100s, like 100.3 FM, 97.4 FM.
The Buzz.
I just have to remind you, FM. Oh shit, I know it's FM. Because if it was AM, it'd be all. The whole time.
Pat. What is it? Well, 100.3 FM, League City, Dickinson, Galveston, Santa Fe.
A hard rock, Santa Fe, Texas. 102.9 Bludgeon Radio.
Rebel Radio.
Santa Fe, Texas. Come on, guys. Right. Where the meth is real. Santa Fe. The meth is real. Santa Fe, Texas. This is 102.5 Butchered Radio. Yeah.
Real opium, China White.
It's like heroin right into your veins. Hard rock. 99.6 FM. Because you have to remember, it's on FM. Because if it were AM, it'd be all the time.
Dude, I'm over here crying, man.
Brings up my voice a little bit. I wasn't ready for that.
Oh, I know, man. Hey,
it's Sunday.
You got them vocal cords ready, dude.
And now, your starting lineup for your Chicago Bulls.
Hey, what? Starting at center.
At guard. No, he goes, let's start there. At center. What was the part right now?
I was thinking Bill Winnington, dude.
Luke Longley. From Central Arkansas at Fort, Scotty Pippen.
And at shooting guard.
As always, from North Carolina. 6 guard, Michael Jordan.
Man, freaking WGN TV, man. That was awesome, man. Watching Bulls games during that time.
Wow, I wasn't ready for that. My throat's a little sore.
Man, like I said, them vocal cords all be ready to rock now, bro.
This Sunday, Mucho Metal.
Yeah, okay. Stained. Aerosmith. Megadeth.
Okay. All right, guys. Seriously, though, 2-minute warning. 2-minute warning. 2 minutes.
2-minute warning? All right. Yeah, I got about...
How many timeouts you got?
Yeah, about 2. It's coming up. Yeah, it's 2-minute warning. I got about 2 timeouts, bro.
Okay, so if I'm Bill O'Brien, I'm not going to use either one of those.
Absolutely correct.
Run out the clock and then kick a field goal and lose by a point. That's just...
Yeah.
Okay, all right, we're on the same page then. All right.
Yeah, and let alone it's probably about a 35-yard or 2. So...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
it's going to be 3rd and 9, and I'm going to throw a bubble screen behind the line of scrimmage and hope that I get all 9 by the end of the set.
Yeah.
The Bill O'Brien School of Head Coaching. All right.
Yeah. And then,
I think I'm done. I'm getting it out of my system, man. I think I'm done with you.
You should. You should, man. Hey, like I said, dude, I'm done with them, bro. You know what I'm saying?
About Dave Cook. All right, let's do this. Let's get ready. 1 minute, Brian. Come on.
All right, cool. Focus.
Oh, that was a burp in stereo. Sorry, guys. I thought I was muted there. I'm getting lost here. I don't know which one's my awesome, like, which one is the stadium button.
The stadium button.
This is the stadium button. And this is not. Yeah.
The Stadium Bowl. DJs, aka disc jockeys back in the 90s, man. Can't beat it.
Cocaine Radio. Cocaine Radio. It was all cocaine. Cocaine Radio. Bazzer Sugar. Are you ready to rock? Here's some Queens right on 109.3 FM. The Butcher Radio.
Oh, man.
All right, here we go, guys. You ready?
Roll?
Do this.
All right, man. Fire it up, bro.
Got a little surprise for you, too.
Oh, dope.
Get this out, man. Surprises.
I like surprises.
I
like it a lot.
It's time for another episode of Cap Casualties Podcast. Now here are two guys that were traded away from Houston long before it became fashionable. It's Patrick Lopez.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellent.
And Rod English.
I've got the style and profile like never before. Woo!
Yeah.
You think you know me?
Yeah, baby!
Good night.
Your Rumble winner is... The Rated R Superstar! How's that production?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
That's pretty good, man. I have to give you that. Really, really good.
Now I'm
really,
ready for the rest of the
good.
show, Rod. Like my mixer's like redding out here. Saying, no moss.
You clipping. Nice.
Yeah, I'm clipping hard, man. I'm riding in the red. I wish I could get in the mud, but I'm in the red. Anyway, it's Cap Casualties. I had all that and I screwed that intro up, man. Wow.
Yeah, run that back. Run
It's
that back, bro.
the Cap Casualties Podcast. This is season 2, episode 2.5. The reason why is because I dropped the ball last week, and there is a podcast that is no longer in existence. So if you managed to listen to it live, you got some good stuff. You got to catch us talking about the 1-year anniversary of Kobe and Gigi's passing. Hank Aaron, baseball icon, passed away that week. Also, we gave our preview of the Super Bowl, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, I drank some Gatorade, and it just threw I'm just all messed up here, man. I'm a mess right now.
Oh man.
But
yeah.
so I screwed it up. We had a really great show. We gave some good parting shots. We wrapped some sports, and then at the end of it all, I realized something. I didn't record the audio. So if you managed to catch the show live, you got a piece of history. It's going to be a rare commodity. If you're able to record it, you should go out there and trade it on the black market. And I'm a little frustrated right now, Rod, because your camera is all messed up. Hold on, let me fix this.
Yeah.
Let's fix that.
Yeah, man.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, we're fixed now.
Yeah, yeah, man. Do your producer thing, man.
I'm on top of it, man. I'm on top of
That's
it, but
what
I'm
I'm
only
talking
one
about.
person. I'm doing the job of 3 people, but I'm only paid one person. One rate.
That's right, and underpaid at that, bro.
Underpaid at that, man. So check this out. We talked all those things last week, but in the span of a week, we felt like, hey, maybe we should come back to the table and record again. Just because we really felt like it was important. We had something both to say. But within, we were kind of juggling back and forth. Let's just re-record it. Let's not. And then in the process of that all, horrible news. Well, not horrible for us, but great news for one person. Just horrible news if you're a Texans fan is that they hired their head coach, but it's someone no one thought was like even on our radar, you know? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a few other things. But first off, Rod, how are you doing this week, man?
Man, doing good, man. Had a good weekend. Did absolutely nothing, but played Madden 21 all weekend for the most part. Finally started to get back into the Madden world. I haven't played in a good while, so I was like, all right, well, let me just go ahead and download Madden 21 and see what it do. And it's not bad. It's actually not that bad.
Well,
so.
It's funny you bring that up because one of our big stories is some big news that broke today on February 2nd regarding sports and video games. So we'll touch on that here in a little bit as well. First off, man, let's go back and touch on a couple of things. I want to put it out there, like actually in MP3 or recorded form. We had talked a little bit about Kobe and Gigi passing and how it affected our lives, and I think we both said at the end of it, regardless of Kobe's legacy in basketball, whatever the controversies were with that whole thing in Colorado, we both came to an agreement at the end of it, like the legacy of someone should be when they leave this world, you leave more good out there than bad, and we both felt like Kobe left a lot of good out there. That doesn't dismiss what happened with him, but at the same time, and his daughter, it was a tragedy and how it affected us, both of us emotionally. But we said at the end of it, we felt that Kobe did leave a lot more. He put a lot more positive energy out in the world then there was negative energy, and so that can never take away what happened to that individual. And hopefully, she can come to terms with things. And I don't really know the best way to put it, like, work through it. I don't know the answer to that and how to put that in the proper terms. But what I can say is, at the end of it with Kobe, it was a legacy that there was a lot more positive put out there than negative for me, from what I saw. So I think we could both say that. Hank Aaron, icon in sports, icon in baseball, pantheon, one of the greatest ever, still leads the league in all-time RBIs and total runs. It's going to be hard to top those two. On top of all that, an ambassador for the game, and on top of all of that, just a great guy to be around. From all indicators from people that have been around him throughout his life, he was such a nice guy.
Right.
Just before we move on, I just want to see if you had any more thoughts you wanted to add on to those two stories that we talked about last week.
Yeah, just to kind of recap my thoughts. I mean, going back to Kobe. I mean, even after him being gone for a year, it still hits home. It still hits home, and it makes you think of your own mortality. Especially with him, with us, being so close in age. And I'm not sitting here talking like I know the guy, but still, I've said this before and I say it again. From a high school standpoint, if one person's class of '96, we're all class of '96, and we're all family. And when one of us goes out, then the rest of us feels it. I mean, you got basketball players like Steven Jackson, who was a part, who was, like I said, class of '96. He played. He's a McDonald's All-American and played with Kobe in that game, and they became tight over the years and everything, and especially post basketball. He's still hurt by it, and so once again, when one of us goes out, we all feel it, and so yeah, I agree. He left this earth way too soon because he was just getting into what I believe was the purpose for his life, and that was to entertain the younger generations on this game called basketball, and not only the game called basketball, but the game called life, and how basketball and the things that you learn in basketball can translate to what you go through in life. And he was on a good path, a really, really good path. I mean, and was already an accomplished professional outside of basketball already, in a short span of time. I mean, in 4 years, right? He accomplished a whole lot, best-selling books and, winning Oscars and all kinds of stuff. And so yeah, he left this earth way too soon, but, his legacy does live on, and he did leave a mark on humanity. And the same with Hank Aaron. Not only was he a great ambassador for baseball, but he was a great ambassador for humanity, especially from a social justice standpoint, or not even social justice, but just from a social standpoint, being able to, break the records that he did in a time and place to where, people that look like me weren't accepted, and was thought of nothing. And the things that he was able to do in that sport is just like you said, he still has records on the books that still have yet to be broken. And so the world definitely lost, and yeah, definitely lost an ambassador for sure.
Yeah. Bucks, Super Bowl, Bucks Chiefs. We had talked about that a little bit as well. I think that it's going to be really hard. It's going to be an uphill battle for the Bucks. But if that front seven shows up and is able to put the damper on the Chiefs' offense, it could make things interesting. And I think we both said this because I said this about the NFC title game. If it's a close game and you're counting on Tom Brady, all bets. I mean, anything can happen, and we kind of saw that to a lesser extent because he played good the first half, not so good the second half. But if it's a close game and the ball is in Brady's hands to win it, it's going to be hard not to see, oh man, we're going to get it again, but this time he's going to be a Buccaneer and he's going to win number 7, and it's going to be just crazy. But I think it'll be a fun game. I'm hoping it's going to be a fun game, as fun as the NFC title game. Not as good, not as bad. I don't want it to be a bad one like the AFC title game. That was just really bad. But I think when you talk about a guy that 21 years in the league, and 10 of those years he was in the Super Bowl. Unbelievable stats there. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to say, like, I think we talked about who our other top favorite quarterbacks are, and Joe Montana is on the top of our list as well, both of us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this guy has been there 10 times. 10 times. The average player in the NFL, I think they average, 4.5 years in the league? 4.5 years in the league.
On
the
average.
NFL player is in the league. He's been in the league for 21 years. That's crazy. That's a crazy stat to begin with. But on top of that, he's been in the Super Bowl 10 times. Half of his career, he's been in the Super Bowl. That's insane to me. That's just insane. That's why I can't. That's why, as dynamic and as fast and young as the Chiefs' offense is, I cannot count the Bucs completely out, man. I just cannot do it.
That's right.
Every day, like, I think about this, I keep jumping back and forth and say, well, the Chiefs won. I mean, the Chiefs won it last year. They're prime, they're experienced, but they're young still. They're still got that hunger. And I'm like, but Tom Brady, man. And I have to go point at the picture, but Tom, like, go on the screen. But Tom's been there. Tom's done it. So it's going to be a tough one, man. I hope it's a good game. I really do. I hope it's a good game next week.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it is going to be a good game, and anytime that Tom Brady's on the field, your team has a chance to win, period. And he's proved that time and time again, just like I said, I mean, 10 times going to the Super Bowl and winning 6, that's a feat that, I don't know if will ever be achieved. I don't know if anybody else will be able to achieve that, to be honest with you. And if they do, it's going to be a long time from now, because I mean, Tom Brady is a special breed. He is a special breed. And the cool thing about Tom is, you don't hear a whole lot about him in the news. He keeps, for the most part, a low profile. In regards to social media, he's not, putting in anything that's, or putting out anything that's crazy and outlandish and things of that nature. And so, and even the stuff that he's doing, I mean, you see a lot of athletes, they're, putting out, promo videos of them working in the gym and, getting all swole and this, that, and the other. You don't see Tom doing that. You may see him do that every once in a while, but he keeps his stuff to himself. He keeps things pretty much close to the vest as far as what he does to get ready and whatnot. And I think that's worked out to his advantage, because nobody hasn't figured it out yet. Right. I mean, of course, the only way that you can beat Tom Brady, and it's been proven, but not too many defenses have been able to do it, is pass rush, consistent pass rush, and getting him on his behind and constantly getting in his face, constantly knocking him out of his rhythm and everything. And if you do that, then you have a chance to beat him. But once again, there's been very few teams that have been able to do that. So, and the Chiefs defense, they're good. I mean, their pass rush is pretty good, but I don't know if it's good enough to really, I mean, I'm talking about seriously disrupt what Tom is doing or what Tom plans to do on the field. So,
yeah.
And then plus on top of that, the fact that they're playing on their home field, the fact that the Bucs are playing on their home turf, the first time that's ever happened in Super Bowl history, man, I wouldn't be shocked if the Buccaneers win, man. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, of course,
we're talking about Pat Mahomes, one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, a quarterback, a great offense, but at the same time, he's a little banged up. We can't overlook that. We can't overlook the fact that also that front seven of the Buccaneers is legit. They, that first drive by the Packers when they scored that touchdown, everyone thought, okay, well, if Rodgers is going to throw all over the front seven, it's going to be ball game Packers. But after that, they went to town, man. They went to town.
Yes,
on Rodgers.
They did.
They broke into that backfield. They disrupted, and they put him on his butt over and over again. And that's really, I think you said it, that's one of the things with Brady is that whenever there's a consistent pass rush to throw him off of his rhythm, you have a chance. Then you have a chance. And at his age, I mean, if you can really get to him, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of blitz packages the Chiefs have lined up for him. And at the same time, like, just making sure that he doesn't expose those blitzes because he's been doing it so long. He knows how to adjust. He knows how to adjust to the defense. Right. I'm still the front seven of the Bucks, if they get in there and they create havoc for Pat Mahomes, who's banged up right now, we could be looking at an easy Bucks win. And are we really going to be talking about that over the Chiefs? Like an easy Bucks win with a 43-year-old quarterback? Like, really? We're going to do that? But it's possible. It could go both ways. I'm hoping it's going to be a good, high-scoring game, but back and forth throughout the game. I hate Super Bowls where there's a two-quarter lull where second and third are just boring, not a whole lot going on, where you're actually looking forward to an awful halftime show, usually at that point. But I'd rather have 4 quarters of good football, honestly.
Man, who's playing in the halftime show this year anyway?
Is it the Weeknd? I think.
The Weeknd?
Is it the Weeknd? I don't know, man. You're asking the wrong person. I stopped getting into that because we started running out of acts, to throw out there, and I just was like, yeah, I can't get into it anymore. I just really can't. I know that it's for a younger demo now, and I get it. That's great. Just like the commercials, that's fine. I'm really there for just the football. Give me the football.
Yeah.
Give me the football.
Yeah.
Give me the end of the game, and let's hoist the trophy and let's call it a night. Let's call it a season, guys. Let's go. I got other things to do at that point.
I will tell you this though, and you may call me crazy if you want. You're entitled to your opinion. Best halftime show ever. Michael Jackson. That Michael Jackson halftime show.
I'm gonna go Prince, man. I'm gonna go Prince. It started raining when he played Purple Rain. Like,
this is true.
Like, that's just, it doesn't get any, the script can't be written any better, man. Like,
this is true.
Literally, they handed him the guitar. He starts playing the opening riff to Purple Rain, and then it just starts raining. I'm like, this is perfect. This is great.
Yeah. This is divine.
I'm hoping for a good game, man. I really am.
Yeah,
so
true.
We're going to do a little local. Rod's over in Orlando. I'm in Austin. We're both Houstonians. That's where we grew up. So from time to time, this is probably the part of the podcast where if you're not from this area, you're going to tune out because it's not really something you want to get with. But these are 2 stories you're probably going to want to get with because they involve high-profile names and really big stories because they have some big implications in both sports. First off, the Rockets. They traded away James Harden a few weeks ago. The world was set on fire by this news. The Rockets got a pretty decent load back from a couple of teams, including Oladipo and Dante Exum, who has yet to even play in a game. But the main thing is that Oladipo really didn't want to come to Houston, according to rumors, that he's still hoping for that Miami trade to go through because that's where he wants to go. His contract ends at this year. So all of this stuff, as well as recovering John Wall, recovering DeMarcus Cousins, and they looked really bad. The defense was really bad. The only real bright spot before the trade was flipped out there into the NBA was that Christian Wood is legit. That was the given. Like, this kid is real. Well, guys, since that time, the Rockets have thrown off 6 in a row as of last night. They went from one of the worst defenses to a top 5 I think even top 3, if I'm not mistaken, in the NBA right now.
If you look at the last 10 games, just the last 10 games, they're ranked number 1 in the NBA in defensive efficiency.
Yeah. So basically, Harden's going out there balling or trying to ball with the Nets. That's great. This team is fun to watch. They scored 140 points last night, nailed 28 three-pointers. That was the record for them. If you remember a couple years ago, they lost that Game 6 where they missed 27 threes in a row. They weren't missing they missed very few last night, the other night, This was like, we were over here thinking that this was going to be a Steven Silas slower tempo team, man, but they straight up ball, and they're good because they attack the basket. They run good sets. They don't run iso ball where they wait for the last second. They create good shots for each other, as well as they play great team defense on the other side of the ball. This is a fun team to watch. And right now they're 10-9. They're in the number 9 spot in the West. They're inching their way back up. And man, honestly, the only thing I think of that can stop them are 2 things. 1, they go ice cold, and 2, health. That's really it, man. I mean, but that's the formula of most playoff teams in the NBA is health and just not going cold. But this one's very different because this is a team that if the injury, those guys that are coming back or recovering from injuries start, getting hurt again, or they start feeling the wear and tear of the season, then you could see them dropping back down to becoming a lottery team easily because they just don't have that one superstar. But John Wall, he looks good, man. He looks really good. Not gonna lie.
John Wall has, I mean, obviously entrenched himself as the leader of the club,
Yeah.
and he's done an excellent job of that. I think that if the stats, if my memory serves me right, I think he's scoring 18 a game, averaging between 7 and 8 assists. He's, as far as 3 point percentage, I think he's at 37%, from 3 point line. And so his efficiency as a point guard has been absolutely wonderful. I mean, you can see that he has fully recovered from that Achilles injury that has been hobbling him for the last few seasons, and so that it watching him ball is still a beautiful thing to see because he still has that quickness, and it seems like he hasn't lost a step, right? It almost seems like he's actually gained just a little bit of quickness, just a little bit, when you watch him. I mean, I was fortunate enough to where this year I finally broke down and got league pass for the Rockets, so that way I can watch every game. And so I watched the game last night, and they were playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, and yeah, they scored almost about 140 points. I think they beat the Thunder about well over 30, if I'm not mistaken. And they came out the gate, I mean, just absolutely on fire, especially from the 3 point line. John Wall was going off. Oladipo was going off. Christian Wood was going off. Eric Gordon, who I've said, privately to Pat, I've said that, man, this guy doesn't have a basketball IQ. His IQ sucks. But the one thing I can say about Eric Gordon is when he's hot, he's one of the most dangerous six men in the league. When he's hot. But when that dude is cold,
it's nauseating to watch him dribble the ball when he's on.
Very, very. But yeah, this team is a very fun team to watch, and the thing about it is their offense is so balanced. I mean, it is balanced from. I mean, it's a thing of beauty what Steven Silas has done for this club, and he deserves the majority of the credit. I will say this: I was listening to a radio show earlier today, which with Rich Kamala and Antonio Antonio Davis, if I'm not mistaken, on Sirius NBA radio, and they were having a debate on who deserves the credit for the Rockets enduring what they did. Sure. And Rich Kamala said, well, it's John Wall, basically based on what he's done. And then Antonio was like, no. I mean, because put it like this, when teams play well, the players get the credit. When teams don't play well, then the coach gets the blame.
Right.
Which makes perfect sense. I mean, it made when he said that, it made absolutely perfect sense. And so he was like, Steven Silas should, deserves majority of the credit. And my thing is, if I can add on to the debate, I think that this is the first time in a long time to where we have seen all four tiers of the organization, from ownership to the executives to the coaching staff to the players, all be on the same page.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, Raphael Stone doesn't get enough credit.
No, he doesn't.
At all. He does not get enough credit.
No.
The moves that he made, this past offseason, once again, going back to the first deal that he made, which was that blockbuster, was getting John Wall for Westbrook straight up. I was like, whoa, okay. Man, what, he was like 2 or 3 days on the job, man. He's already pulling off blockbuster trades. I'm like, okay, this dude's starting to flex, and then he was patient with Harden, making sure that he wasn't going to undercut the team, making sure that the value, that he wasn't going to get undercut on James Harden's value. He held teams at bay, which shows a lot of savvy, as far as front office savvy, if you will. And then once again, like I say, happening to get a player like Oladipo, who is, I mean, we know we're starting to see that all-star Victor Oladipo again.
Right.
And to be able to convince him in some way to say, hey, look, for the season, ride it out.
Yeah.
See where this thing goes, and then come the off season, we'll start talking about contract. But hey, look, this is a good team that you got, and just ride that thing out. And so I'm loving what the Rockets are doing. I'm absolutely loving what they're doing. And this is probably one of the few times I'm gonna sound like a homer. If they keep it up, they can make some noise in the playoffs. Am I saying that they're gonna go to the conference championship? No. But I think that they will make enough noise to where if they keep the same team intact, watch out. Watch out. They just need just a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more, not much. I mean, I think Jason Tate, if he can get another year of experience, at this level, consistently, then I think that his game is going to elevate. And so I'm liking what I'm seeing as far as with the product they're putting on the court now.
Sure. You have to ask the question. You give it a few more weeks until the trade deadline in March. I've always been of the idea that Eric Gordon has to go. You have to get some kind of value for his deal. You don't get enough in return is what I think because of his inconsistency. With that said, though, I think you have to really think about if they get up to – they're at 9 now. Let's say, Rod, they get to 7, pushing towards the 6th seed. Do you think about status quo for the playoffs, or do you think about getting some value still for Eric Gordon? The reason why I ask is because what if, and it's like you said, it's going to be slim to none that this team make waves into the conference championship, the Western Conference Championship, the Western Conference Finals. But when you really think about it, though, if this team is legit, John Wall stays healthy. He's giving 18 to 20 points a game, right? Oladipo is giving you 18 to 20 a game. Christian Wood's giving you 20 a game. That's 60 points right there. Eric Gordon's giving you 50. That's 70 some odd points a game you got from 4 guys on the roster. And you're playing good team defense. And if you're relatively healthy, if they maintain this, you have to consider them a quiet team that can make the noise in the playoffs. That can, like, they may be able to say, first round. If they win that first round, they won't shock anyone. Then they go to the second round, and then they win there. That will shock some people. They get into the conference final. But let's say they go up against the Lakers. Lakers are just a great team, right? But you have DeMarcus Cousins, who has the size. You have Christian Wood, he's got to put on some weight. But as you watch him every game, he's getting more and more confident around the rim to just do whatever he wants. It's just, like there were 2 blocks and rebounds yesterday where it was just like they were so effortless from the guy because he's so long. Like, he's so tall, but he's so long. And, like, a guy went up for I don't remember who it was that went up for the shot. He just literally half-assed, just like swatted the hell out of that ball. But it was an aggressive block, but he wasn't flying 100 miles an hour. It's because of just his length, his arm length, his height, and all that. If the guy can gain 15 to 20 pounds, he could be a real banger in the NBA. I don't think that that's what he's missing. I think it's just experience on the court because he just really hasn't. When you really think about it, 6 teams in 6 seasons or whatever that crazy stat was, he's been with 6 teams in his career. He really just needs seasoning on the court. And every time I watch him, I see him getting more and more confident when he's banging in the middle, when he's taking it to the hoop. There's a little more confidence every game. I think he's starting to realize, look, I do have skills that are top, and like I have all-star level skills in this league, and I can be consistent with that. If he can stay at that level throughout the season, Cousins he can find his way on the bench. I know he did the other night against OKC, but if he can find a good rhythm and a good niche for him on the bench along with Gordon, I think that this team could be really good. I really do. Right. I think this team could be really, because you still have Dante Exum, who has yet to step on the court. On top of all that, we're forgetting about the other one, which happened last week as well. They traded a second-round pick over for Kevin Porter Jr. from the Cavs.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Kevin Porter, guys. If you don't know him, he obviously has some emotional problems. I'm not gonna be one of those crazy radio guys and say, yeah, this is what I think. It's mental illness. He's lost his. See, I can't even do it anymore. I'm coughing when I try to do it now. I wore my throat out. But I think whatever he's going through, hopefully John Lucas can work with him and help him figure it out so he can become a professional, because the guy has the skills in the NBA to be a very good player. I mean, I'm not talking about elite player, but he's got the skills to be a very, very good player. He's young at 20 years old. Figure it out, get him on the court, get him some time off the bench. If his head just can't get right, then you could cut ties. You're only losing a second-round pick, which isn't much for him. But at the same time, there's the risk reward is too good for you to just, if he turns out to be a good player and he gives you 10 points a game like he did his rookie season last year, I think this team could really make some noise in the playoffs, man. I'm not gonna say that. I don't want to say that they're Western Conference material, like finals material, because they're not. They have a lot of ball to figure things out. But Rod, where they looked at like days after the Harden trade, they looked lost out there. Wall and Oladipo couldn't shoot threes for the life of them. Cousins was just completely lost, and then Christian Wood sat a couple games. Cousins got some time starting, and he really found his rhythm offensively. And I know he's trying to figure it out on the bench, and I hope he can. But I think because you have Wall and Cousins who've been there before, Oladipo who's an all-star, Christian Wood who's a young and up-and-coming player, you have Eric Gordon who, whatever you decide to do with him, when he's hot, he's super on fire. This is a team, and they play good team defense. I cannot stop reiterating this. Like, it's really good to watch this team defensively because they rotate well, they contest shots, and there was a stretch where OKC was just nailing shots, and it was like, but you didn't feel bad because you're like, that was defensed well, that was covered well, that was covered well. What are you supposed to do on that shot? That three was just pure net, like. But the guy, the hand was in the face, and he completely covered him the entire time. What are you supposed to do there? But then when you keep consistently keep playing good team defense like that, it's going to work in your favor, and it did for them. The gap got down to 9 points, but then it went back up to 25 and 20 and 25 and 20. Then it just settled at 30 because the Rockets got really hot in the late third, fourth quarter, and that was it for them. But I like the team. I like watching this team. This isn't what I don't miss the Harden basketball, the fat guy dribbling the ball for 22 seconds and then jacking up a stupid step back three because it's a stupid patent, which he would miss, 3/4 of the time. I don't miss that. I don't miss the moment they play pressure defense on Harden. He just gives up the ball, 10 times in a game, 12 turnovers in a game. I don't miss this anymore. I don't miss that. It's not myopic basketball. I just don't miss that concrete court basketball anymore. I don't miss it. I'm glad I'm watching traditional basketball.
I was just about to say that, we as Rockets fans, we've been thirsting, if you will, to see some good team basketball. The one thing that I could say about Rockets fans, and I think I might have said this on episode 1, the Rockets fan base, they know their basketball. We know our basketball. When you are literally sitting in the same division with the San Antonio Spurs and the Dallas Mavericks, especially the Spurs, where you got arguably one of the best coaches to ever coach the game in Greg Popovich.
Right.
You know what good basketball looks like. You know what sound, fundamental basketball looks like. You know what team defense looks like. And the city was just absolutely thirsty for it. Now, to Harden's credit, during the time that he was here, he won over the fans. He won over the fans, and he became a darling in the city and a son of the city, if you will. And towards the end of his Rockets run, that's when, of course, things went sour when they let go of D'Antoni. And when they let go of D'Antoni, I already knew, and you and I talked about this, privately, that we knew that the relationship between the front office and the player, that it just wasn't there, that the relationship wasn't there. And especially with Morey being gone, because Morey was Harden's boy, D'Antoni. I mean, D'Antoni's on the net staff, if I'm not mistaken, and Harden reunited with him and everything, and so so you saw the beginning. I mean, you saw the beginning of the end at that point. So
Sure.
But yeah, like I said, man, it's beautiful basketball that we're seeing right now, and regardless of what happens this season, and I think most Rockets fans can attest to this. We will live with the results. It's to that point to where we'll live with the results. If we barely make the playoffs, great. If we make a deep run in the playoffs, great. Regardless, it's a successful season because we finally have the return of real basketball in Houston.
Sure. Speaking of the city of Houston and drama with their heroes or their sports icons.
Crap.
So the main reason why we decided not to re-record episode 2 and then just hold off to record episode 2.5, by the way, was because we decided we really needed to touch base and let our feelings out regarding the Houston Texans. So after we recorded episode 2, I think it was like a day later, or maybe even, it was a day later, the Texans announced they were hiring Dave Culley as their head coach. Who?
Hey, repeat that name for effect, sir.
And now, the Texans head coach, Dave Culley? That's right. Like, who is this guy? Turns out, Dave Culley's been in the league a long time. And you know what? I'm going to be real. I'm happy for the man himself.
Yeah.
It's not easy. There are 30-some-odd jobs, head coaching jobs in the NFL, in a league where very few minority coaches are like in the league. He was able to get a job in the league, and I'm happy for him in that regard. Where I'm not happy for him is he's come into, pardon the French, guys, a very shit situation. This is awful. This is a really bad situation. Not long after the announcement was made that he was head coach, the very next day, Deshaun Watson's people finally made the announcement that he wants to be traded. This is where we're at, man. I don't think we talked about this in episode 2. I think we also touched on this in episode 1 because this Jack Easterby, Cal McNair, Nick Casario saga has stretched for a long time, and it was the impetus for us to restart this podcast because I had gotten so frustrated. Both you and I had gotten frustrated, and we both said it's time to dust off the microphones and let's get back to it. And if anything, if there was anything good that's come out of this McNair, Easterby ownership weird situation, was the fact that we decided to start rolling tape again. That's about the only, honestly, at this point, that's probably the only positive thing I could think of. Rod, what about you, man? I mean, seriously.
I mean, for real. The band of idiots, the incompetence, and just the sheer stupidity of this franchise, that we have been, diehard fans of for the last 20 some odd years. And it's crazy. It's been 20 some odd, almost 20 years since this, right. Franchise has been in existence.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years, for them to stoop to the level of where they're at, to where they're making Bud Adams look like a genius. That got me fired up again to, want to get back on the mic with my boy Pat and just rant, And so yeah, I agree. If there's anything that, that has been a positive experience out of all of this, is that I got a chance to reunite with my boy on the air to do what we love to do, and that's talk sports.
Right.
And so, but outside of that, I want to say that I might have mentioned this in episode 1 that I was threatening to denounce the Texans as my team.
Yeah.
Well, I've made good on that promise.
It's official, guys. It's official.
Yeah, I've made good on the promise that I am officially done being a fan of the Houston Texans until such a day comes that the McNair family sells the team, when the McNair family sells the team and they hopefully don't relocate to some other city, if they still in Houston, then I will pick back up my fandom for the Houston Texans. I refuse to support this team in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I am a Deshaun Watson guy, a huge Deshaun Watson fan. Love his game. Love him as a person. He doesn't give anybody any trouble. You don't hear about him in the news as far as off the field type of stuff.
Right.
Very, very high character. And so from a selfish standpoint, because screw the Texans and their needs. From a selfish standpoint, I either want him to go one or two teams, either the 49ers or the Saints.
Wow.
But I would say this. I wouldn't be shocked that in true Texan fashion that they will try to deal Deshaun as soon as they come to grips that he's not going to play for them, that they will try to deal him to the 49ers for Jimmy G and some picks. Why? Because for the last, 4 years, they have been trying to become New England South. This fits right into the mold, man. It fits right in the mold.
I'm getting sick. I'm getting really nauseous. Hey, we've talked about this for several episodes now. I'm sick of this model of New England South. And Cal McNair can go out there to a press conference and say, y'all can shut up now. We're not talking about being New England South. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
Don't front. You knew for a second. You knew for a time there. You were actually seriously thinking about Josh McDaniel as a head coach.
Right.
Don't lie to us. That was, I know that if there's a head coaching candidate board up in that office, that Josh McDaniels was top 5 up there. I know this for a fact. I know it. I just know it because that's what they're doing. They, Casario, he's Easterby's boy from New England. Now, I a few weeks ago when we first talked about Casario getting the job, I said, you know what, it's a tough situation for the guy because he is one of the most respected potential GMs in the league. Okay.
Yeah.
But when I really think about it now, he's implicit in this whole problem with the culture over there. And we've talked about this for 2 podcasts as well. These guys, apparently this model is about a Christian faith model of players. I don't care about that. Like, Rod is a man of God. I grew up in the church. This doesn't make me, to me, it doesn't mean you cannot have someone of faith playing on your team or running your business or running your NFL franchise or coaching your players. That doesn't bother me. That's perfectly fine. What bothers me is that is strictly the culture you're trying to create based off of that. Not about having good football players or good people or anything like that. It's about, we want to create a culture where it's all about Christian men coming in to play football. That's the problem I have, is that you're putting this restriction on the type of personality and type of player you want. When that was problem number 1 for me. And then last week actually a few days ago, we hear about a football blogger that's out there that has actually had his run-ins with a few players that was at the Senior Bowl. And some of the information he got was very disturbing. And one of them is, it's not just about that whole thing with Jack Easterby. This guy is like getting into people's business. Like, he straight up is, when he's not happy with the player, he wants to text them and basically talk to them, like basically rear them as an adult to a child on text. And when they're not having it, because we're talking about grown ass men that are like, psh, who's this guy? Who's youth group coming after? Is youth group's coming after me? Like, nah, like, this ain't happening. What is he doing next? He's calling their mothers and texting their mothers and telling them, your son has a problem. What is that, Rod? What the hell is that? Like, dude, what is that? Like, that is not that is not management. That's not leadership. That's not how you run a business. That's awful. No. Like, if any of that is true, this blogger, I don't know, he could be full of crap. He could be creating sensational material that's half true, half not. I don't know, but it's hard not to believe when there's been so many of these little stories that have been adding up. Like the PR person, I forget her name now. I apologize to the people that are in Houston that know her. I never got to work with her. I just knew that she was a great person to work with. No one that I know that works in the industry still covers in media in Houston had anything bad to say about her. They all liked working with her. And she's won an award for her PR work with the Houston Texans. She got fired because she was, quote unquote, not a culture fit. So all these things that keep adding up, man, I have to believe this blogger and what he's saying about Easterby. I mean, we also heard stories a couple weeks ago about apparently Easterby is walking around the halls telling people that he's in the process of suing Sports Illustrated for the 2 articles they published about him. He was going to sue all of the people, all the bloggers, and all the people making all of these accusations that aren't true about him. On top of the fact that he has sent fans private messages, just like Hannah McNair, Cal's wife, has, to fans that have been pissed off and have been complaining about the Texans both publicly and online, socially. Mm-hmm. They're going after people privately on social media. Easterby's one of those two. He's crazy, man. He's knucking futz. It's just, he's nuts, man. Like, this is just insanity to me. And while this is all happening, Cal keeps doubling, tripling, quadrupling down, saying, nope, we're keeping him on the team. He's our guy. That's why Deshaun doesn't want to be there, because of this whole weird culture, this cult culture that feels like a cult. It doesn't feel like a church, a religious, a good Christian culture. It feels like a cult. That's what it feels like. And Deshaun and we both know this, Deshaun's a man of God. He's a man of high character. No one has ever said anything bad about Deshaun. But at the same time, like, for him to want out, you have to ask why. Why?
Yep, I am. There's an old adage that says that where there's smoke, there's fire. And so the former PR person for the Texans, Amy Palchik.
Yeah, Amy Palchik. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and she was award winning from what I understand, and just like you said, everybody that has worked with her, in the media and all kinds of folks that are out there, other NFL clubs. Everybody has had nothing but great things to say about her. And when she was fired, once again, you even had players sitting there scratching their heads. Is like, okay, what the heck is going on? And it was at that point to where you really started to look at, okay, what's going on in the front office? I think that was the move to where it was like, okay, something's going down. Something's going down, and it was shortly after that. That's when the other, stories like the whole SI story and all of that start to slowly leak out. Shortly, not too much longer after that.
No.
Yeah, it was not too much longer after that, and so, yeah, I mean the culture that is being established over on Kirby, and for those of you that are not in the Houston area. Houston Texans headquarters is on Kirby Drive. So if you hear me refer to the building on Kirby, that's what I'm talking about. The folks in that building, up at the top there, are creating a toxic culture, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but yeah, I mean, I'm in total agreement with what Pat is saying. I, as a man of God, I don't have a problem at all with a Christian being in leadership of, major company, major corporation, major organization, private, public, doesn't matter, love it. Absolutely love it. Brings a good light if you ask me. But when you have situations like that, it offends me as a man of faith to have folks like this that are representing the faith that I represent. Right. And so, especially when you're going about this, especially when you're going about things that aren't even biblically sound. And I'm not, going to come up here and start preaching or anything like that. If you want a Bible lesson, man, hey, hit me up on Twitter. Trust me, I'll hook you up. But anyways, but he's doing stuff that's not even biblically sound. And it's like, okay, you're acting like a fool. You're acting like a straight up fool. And so what he's doing is that he's literally by himself with the co-signing of Cal McNair, he's literally bringing this franchise down, all by himself. And it has gone to the job opening of the Houston Texans. And I mentioned this on episode 1. It has gone from the most admirable and the most desired opening due to the fact that, hey, look, whoever comes in, you get to coach Deshaun Watson. You get the keys to the Ferrari, and it has gone from the most admired and the most desirable to the least desirable, to where folks is like, you know what, man, I'm not touching that organization with a 10-foot pole. And so going back to David Culley, I think the reason why the Texans, wanted to hire David Culley, because in essence, I don't think there was any other options, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I really don't think that there were any other options out there. Yeah, I mean, Eric Bieniemy, interview for the job. They were planning to talk to Leslie Frazier and a couple of these folks or whatever. And I think once they got a sniff of what was going down in the building, they were like, not publicly admit that. But come on, we're not stupid. You know what I mean? Why would Eric Bieniemy come to this organ where it's set fail? And just like you said, there's no disrespect to David Culley. As an African American, I'm proud that he has gotten the opportunity to be the head coach of this organization. And to be honest with you, I hope that he does well. I just can't support the franchise, but once again, I hope that he does well. I really, really do. As a brother, as a minority, I really hope that he has the success. Now, let's just go ahead and just talk about the hire.
Yeah.
Right. This man been in the league for over 27 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And was a wide receivers coach for the Baltimore Ravens and the pass game coordinator. And if you look at the stats of the Baltimore Ravens as far as passing is concerned, their passing offense was almost towards the bottom of the league. I think their ranking was 30th in passing offense, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is a guy that you bring over, and of course they're going to keep Tim Kelly as OC, but this is a guy that you bring over that hasn't been a coordinator, at any level. He's been a position coach his whole career. From a leadership standpoint, you've only gotten a chance to manage a small fraction of a NFL franchise, right? And so, and like I said, I'm not saying that folks that have limited to no experience don't deserve chances, because I know professionally I've been given opportunities to where, I don't have experience, and somebody just had enough faith to believe in me. So I'm not knocking that either. But when you look at this hire, it's extremely questionable. And I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, Bieniemy didn't want the job. Frazier didn't want the job. It's not that the Texans like, you know what? No, we're picking you over them. No, I think that these two guys like, you know what? No, I'm good. I'll wait for the next one.
Yeah. I'm frustrated with the franchise because this is where we are. This is what we've come to, because these guys are, well, and it's because of Cal McNair, the CEO of the company, of the franchise. He will not let Jack Easterby go. It's apparent the guy is a cancer. It's blatantly obvious. The guy is creating a toxic culture in the franchise, not just with the players. I'm talking about with the organization, with staff in the organization as well. There are people that don't want to work with this man, and Cal he's doubling, tripling, quadrupling. Like, he continues to keep doubling down, and it's to the point to where you've driven off your franchise quarterback. 20 years. Yeah. We're talking about damn near 20 years in the NFL, this franchise, and they've never had a true dynamic number one quarterback, franchise leading quarterback. He is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, top 3 if you want to argue about it. He had a great season despite the record.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to ship him off, or you're going to have to play ball with him and let him sit for as long as you have to and potentially lose money to prove a point, which I don't think that they're not capable of doing that. And people don't seem to understand that with me. Here's what I think, guys. He's demanding a trade. They're telling people right now as of February 2nd that they're not fielding any offers. I call bull on that. I call BS on that. Reason why is because regardless of, in terms of what the culture they want, he does as a person technically fit what they want. They want a God-fearing man to be on their roster, to be a good person. Okay, well, that's Watson to a T. The problem is that he just doesn't like Easterby. And because he doesn't like Easterby, he no longer likes Cal McNair. And he basically told the franchise, look, Cal has to step down in order for me to stay. And people out there are saying, how are we going to let a diva football player tell the franchise what blah, 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 blah. Guys, do you not remember Brock Osweiler? Do you not remember Brian Hoyer, Ryan Fitzpatrick, David freaking Carr, the Matt Schaub years? I mean, do you not remember how this team hungered, and you guys, the fans, the dedicated fans, hungered for a true quarterback? And they drafted the guy. They traded away picks for the guy. They moved up to get the guy. And there were still people that were like, yeah, he won twice, and he beat Alabama twice in college, back-to-back years, and he won a title, but he doesn't have a strong enough arm. He came in and he just started slinging the ball his rookie year. Then he tore his other ACL. But then he came back and he was really good. Then he was good the next year. But there were spots of issues with him. Okay, what was the problem there? Well, Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator. So this year, he hands the ball over to Tim Kelly at OC, and he has a great year, And there's just so many things I really think about this franchise, and it's not just they've had so many problems along the way in the past 2 decades, but right now you're at a major turning point because not only are you currently the laughingstock of the NFL. You currently are the laughingstock, and that started at the beginning of the year when they started off last year when they traded off DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, Bill O'Brien gave away Hopkins for peanuts, and apparently, not apparent, it's proven now. Easterby had a lot of doing with that. Since he got hired, he wanted him out the door. He wanted Hopkins out the door, and I think. I don't know if I find it hard to believe he backed Bill O'Brien into a corner rod. I don't think that's the case because Bill O'Brien's not that kind of guy, but maybe Bill O'Brien on some level had beef with Hopkins as well, and Easterby seized a moment there. He's playing. That just shows you if that's really what happened, then Easterby is really a manipulator of people. He's not a representative of, like a Christian man that's out there to show people how to be good. He's using it to an advantage to manipulate people if that's the case because that's what it sounds like right now. With Amy being let go, Palchik being let go, with Bill O'Brien being fired, with all this stuff with Cal McNair, all of these things, and it boils down to the biggest problem is at the end of it all, it's Cal McNair. Like he is just a horrible owner of the company. Like his mom is technically the owner with Bob McNair passed away. But
she's principal owner, right?
Yeah, and he's the CEO / board director. I don't know all of the titles he has, but basically he's the owner of the company. He runs the company. He runs the franchise, and it's just he's made it to where you don't want to be a Texans fan anymore. Why should I support them after 20 years? Why should I support them with all the ups and downs this team has had with some of the dumbest draft picks we've ever seen and some of the dumbest signings like Ed freaking Reed instead of Glover Quinn? Like there's just so many. I can go on and on, but there's just so many. Amon Green at the end of his career. Like we could just go on and on and on about some of the dumbest things this team has done. But this is it. Like this is it, Rod. Like you're really breaking your fan base. You're breaking them emotionally. Like, what can we do now? Because you have the Cleveland Browns are laughing at you. Like, what does that have to say when the Cleveland freaking Browns are pointing and laughing at it? These guys are a bunch of idiots, and they're right. They're right about it because they're about to ship off a franchise quarterback for a lot of picks. Hopefully, if that happens, for a lot of picks. But just to prove a point, because you know why? He's a good person. He's a God-fearing man. Well, technically he fits everything they're looking for, except for one thing. He doesn't buy into their game. He doesn't buy
No.
into the Easterby and McNair game, and that's why Deshaun wants out. Okay, well, they can't have someone that's supposed to be a leader of their locker room be a toxic culture to them, or be a cancer to them. That's why he's going to be gone. I know people think, well, they're not going to trade him. They're not going to trade him. That's why they're going to trade him. They're just waiting. They're just trying to up the market to get something for him. And honestly, I don't have faith in these guys getting the absolute max amount that they should be getting for Deshaun Watson, because they're going to want him gone before the season starts. They're going to want him gone. It blows my mind, Rod. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about the greatest quarterback the Texans have ever had, and they're trading him at 25 years old because he doesn't like the chaplain of the team. Like, the chaplain of the team is running the organization. This is ridiculous, man. Like, this is surreal. It's like a comedy on Netflix. What the hell?
It is.
Seriously.
It is. Man, I want to go back to your Cleveland Browns comment. If those of you that have been fans of this podcast ever since the inception, you've heard me say this and you've heard Pat say this numerous times. We say it, I want to say at least once a year, that at that particular time, the Cleveland Browns were the armpit of the NFL. It was a quarterback graveyard. It's a place where if you're a QB, if you go to Cleveland, that's where your career is going to die. And now it's funny how the tables have turned to where Cleveland is maybe a couple of players away from challenging the Chiefs in AFC now. So it's funny how time flies and how the tables turn, right? But while you were talking about Deshaun, I wanted to bring up his actual stats from this past year, which this past year, from a statistical standpoint, he is at a young age the greatest Texans quarterback to ever hit that field, right? So Watson finished the 2020 season with 4,823 passing yards, franchise record, 33 touchdowns, franchise record, and 7 interceptions, which is a franchise low. So his touchdown to interception ratio was the highest it's ever been in his whole career. And once again, we're only talking about he's just finishing his 4th year, And so from a statistical standpoint, you have not seen a better quarterback to put on the Texans uniform than Deshaun Watson, right? You got a guy that is a transcendent athlete, a transcendent quarterback. It doesn't matter what team that he steps on. His football IQ is so high to where whatever team that he goes towards or goes to, he's going to make them that much better. If he happens to go to the Jets, they go from 2-14 to 8-8 just like that. Just in the span of one season. He goes to the 49ers. They go from being a 6-8 to 11-5 or whatever. He is a difference maker. And it's going to be sad to watch this guy go. Now, the thing that you brought up on is that Cal is literally ripping up the fan base. Well, if you're the fan base, what are you going to do about it? I was very critical of the Texans fan base on the first episode, and I'm going to stand by my criticism, until I see it happen. I still think that this fan base, regardless of what's going on, I still think the fan base is still too shallow, and I still think that you have a whole lot of folks that are saying, well, you're not a diehard. Yeah, be that as it may, I might not be a diehard now, but I'm smart. You know what I mean? And so why would I support a franchise who is literally to where the leadership of the franchise that they're literally trying to sabotage, the franchise all by themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's all based upon this, cult-like culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so why would you support that? I don't think that makes the Texans franchise looks stupid, that makes you, the fan, look stupid because you're the one spending your hard-earned money, buying up these PSLs and buying up, gear, caps and jerseys and stuff like that. I'm looking for an opportunity to sell my Deshaun Watson jersey. As much as I love the brother, I can't wear that deep steel blue anymore, man. I just can't do it anymore, because of what this franchise represents at the top. So wherever Deshaun Watson goes, like I say, hopefully he goes to those two teams, either the Saints or the 49ers. And I'm telling you, mark my words, Pat, in true Texans fashion, do not be shocked if they try to go after Jimmy G, dude. Don't I'm telling you, do not be shocked if that happens, man.
I wouldn't be shocked. But let me ask you. You said that whatever team he ends up in, he can immediately flip the script on the record. Well, he had the greatest season for a Texan quarterback, and they still finished 4-12. How do you translate? What you said was wherever he goes, he can help turn that team around immediately. Well, he was on this team, and they still finished 4-12. See, I'm playing devil's advocate right now because I have to, and that's what I do off air, guys. I look at both sides of this. Like, I don't say Deshaun Watson is a victim. At the same time, I don't say Deshaun Watson is completely guilty. Like, there are two sides to this. Deshaun wanting out is kind of dumb because I get why he wants to. I think it's silly because he signed a contract a few months ago for $150 million. At that time, did he not know? I don't know the full story, so I don't know if he was aware just how batshit crazy Jack Easterby was at that point. Or if he did, he just wanted the cash, the bread, put the no trade clause in his contract, so then if he demands a trade, he could control where he ends up, rather than, if there's a no trade clause, he ends up in Buffalo. I'm not saying he's going to end up in Buffalo, but like one of the worst places in the NFL would probably be. I don't even know anymore. I can't make Cleveland and Buffalo jokes anymore because they're they're playoff teams, man. It's
right.
it's Houston and Dallas. Like, oh my God! Like, seriously, we're going to talk about basement teams to make jokes about. It's the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Texans. It's like,
pretty much.
I mean, this is insane. Really, this is where we're at, guys. I mean, the Jets. Yeah, we can still make Jets jokes, but I don't think he'd want to go there because if he's not into horrible owners, Woody Johnson's no saint over there, and he's not at all. He's established a record of just being incompetent as an owner as well. So he's like, James Dolan and Woody Johnson. God, I would love to just be in a room with those two guys.
Oh, man, that would be dope. I'll pay money for that.
I would probably feel like, I'm sitting next to two billionaires, but I'd probably feel like the smartest guy in the world,
Oh, of course. Of course.
So, yeah. So let me ask you that, man. They were 4-12. He goes somewhere else. You said that he's going to flip the record immediately. How is that possible where he's at now, he couldn't do that?
I think that when you look at the culture of the Texans, it's the culture of the Texans that won out on that.
Okay.
The toxic nature of that franchise spilled over into the field.
Okay, that's fair. No, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Horrible
now if he goes
too. Some horrible deals too.
What was that?
Some horrible deals as well.
Yeah. I mean, bad moves, bad management, just bad straight up and down, right?
Yeah.
So, you can only control what you can control, but I guess I'll say this. If he goes to the Jets, they're going to struggle because, the front office is pure trash, right?
Yeah.
But if we're talking about I guarantee you there's 25 teams in the league that's going to be calling the Texans if they haven't done so already for Deshaun Watson's services.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'll be willing to bet you that 75% of those 25 teams, if Deshaun Watson goes to any 75% of those teams, he will flip that record.
Okay.
He will flip that record.
Now, I will tell you, the one, like, of all the situations that people have thrown out there, the one that actually makes sense for him to become uber successful right away and to build a championship would be San Francisco, because you have Shanahan at head coach. You have John Lynch, who's proven that he's able to bring in talent on that roster. Now, Jimmy G was supposed to be their guy, but he's puttering down every year and whatever. God, that would just, I don't know, man. I would throw up in my mouth if I saw that tweet. Texas trading.
Hey,
Texas,
hey,
Schefter
the reason
just
why,
tweets it out.
hey,
A Schefter bomb, man. Like
hey,
Jimmy
Pat,
G for
the
Deshaun
reason
Watson.
why I threw that out there because when you really think about it, and you think about this franchise, the Texans, once again,
It's an LOL Texans thing to do. I know.
It is the Texans thing to do. But for me personally, because I've been a 49er fan since '88, I'm like, hey, if that happens, I'm getting a Deshaun Watson 49er jersey, man. I mean, easily. I mean, I will come off camera right now, go into my room and go get my 49ers cap and throw it right back on, right? So yeah. I mean, but in all seriousness, if you really want to look at probably the best situations for him, and I know I said this jokingly earlier, but now that I think about it, now if you really think about it objectively, if there's two franchises to where he will pick up right where he left off, and there'll be perfect opportunities for him, is either San Francisco. I'm sorry, excuse me. Ate spaghetti before here, man. So before the episode, but anyways, it's either San Francisco or New Orleans.
Okay.
And the reason why I say New Orleans, what quarterback wouldn't want to work with Sean Payton?
Yeah.
What quarterback would not want to work with Sean Payton?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I think Mickey Loomis has shown that he's willing to do what it takes to build a winner.
Exactly, man. Exactly. I mean, if you look at the franchise of the Saints from the top to bottom, from Mrs. Benson all the way to Mickey Loomis, all the way down to Sean Payton, that is a well-run organization that has been respected by the community, of course.
Yeah.
All of these years, and the fan base is absolutely wonderful. Deshaun would thrive in New Orleans. Deshaun would thrive in San Francisco just for the reasons that you said. Kyle Shanahan being the offensive mind that he is. John Lynch has become one of the most respected, not the respected, but one of the most respected GMs in the league. And it's interesting how a former player, because most former players don't do too well as GMs. I can only count maybe one or two just off the top of my head that have transitioned from being, really, really good football players to great GMs. Ozzie Newsome is one of them.
Yep.
And John Lynch is starting to, make some noise in that manner as well too. So
Sure.
So yeah, that's interesting that you say that.
All right. Well, in the coming weeks, we'll figure out what happens. But I think I agree with Rod in this. I echo this sentiment. It's time for the fans to jump off the wagon, guys. You got to get off the bandwagon. Let the team suffer where it hurts the most, and that's their pocketbook. Let them know that you don't want to be a part of this. Like they just have created a really horrible, toxic culture at Reliant or NRG. And they're about to ship away, or they could potentially be shipping away, the greatest quarterback that they ever had, and they'll be starting all over again, and it's frustrating. So before we wrap up and give our parting shots, I do want to touch base on one more story, Rod. It was dropped on us today. It was a tweet from EA Sports, and let me pull it up here real quick. I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing this live. I had it up, and then I backed away from it, and I realized, oh, man. So earlier this afternoon, we saw, for those who never stop believing, simply what they stated with a banner that says college football is coming back. So it looks like EA Sports is jumping back into the college football game, and it'll probably be about three or 4 years before we actually see the game. But Rod, man, a lot of grown, like you said to open the show, a lot of grown men were in tears on Twitter today. A lot of grown men were crying.
Yeah, a lot of grown men were crying. I almost came close to shedding tears myself, man, because when you talk about sports games, right? NCAA college football, hands down, objectively, right? Hands down, it was the best franchise, that from a sports game standpoint, best franchise ever. in the history of video games.
Great dynasty mode. Great dynasty mode.
Great dynasty, man. The caveat that nobody, well, some folks are talking about it. Most folks aren't, because they're still caught up in their emotions that college football with EA is coming back. If you notice, there was a 4-letter acronym that was missing from that announcement, and that was called the NCAA.
Yep.
So, not unless some things change between now and the game release, you're probably going to get fake colleges. You're probably going to get fake players, in which that's fine, because EA still did a great job of game design, game concept, and some of the scenes and some of the things that they put into the game is still worth the buy. You're just not going to have real, college teams like the Longhorns or, Florida Gators or OU or A&M or whoever.
No.
So that's the only down part of it, in which that brings up a whole nother conversation, which we're probably going to need to save probably for another episode, where you start talking about, what's the big topic that's been going on for the last 2 years, paying players for likeness.
Yeah,
all right.
That's right.
And, getting into the whole financial bit of it, those of you that have followed this podcast from its inception, you guys know that me and Pat, we can't stand the NCAA. We can't stand Mark Emmert. We think he's scum of the earth. We think that he's an idiot, that he is bad for college athletics, and still feel that way. Right. But once again, that's a whole nother story. But still at the end of the day, it's still a happy day, man. It's still a happy day that we're gonna get a decent college football game, and hopefully, and another part of the announcement is that it was going to be for next gen consoles. So we're talking PS5, Xbox Series S or X, and so if we're talking that, then the graphics are going to be off the chain. So we're not going to be talking about no Tecmo Bowl, no NFL Blitz type stuff, the way you got goofy looking things and all that other stuff, man. We're talking about some good quality, design. You're gonna get
4K ultra high definition, 120 hertz gaming. Because if it's going to happen in the next, they think they say in the next 2 to 4 years, or 2 to 3 years, to be correct, 2 to 3 years to release a game, then it's going to have to be next gen console, because the next gen is just current gen at that point. But to jump on a few things Rod said, you notice NCAA wasn't in the announcement, which is fine for me because they have time. I think what's going to happen, and I'm okay with it, is that they're going to, because they don't want to pay to save money, they may minimize the amount of players they put on covers or put in the game. So how to circumvent that is they're going to have generic players, which is, I'm okay with that. I don't care about that. The one thing you want with a college football game is to have the colleges, right? Your mascots, your fight songs, your stadiums, your colors, all of that stuff. I think they can still do that with NCAA. They could strike a license deal with NCAA without having to have the players on board. That's still possible. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't know if that's in the works or not. I don't know. I just know that there was legislation that passed in California, and now it's going to eventually spread across the country, where you have to pay for players' likeness rights in these games. And people are calling it the Ed O'Bannon rule, whatever. 25 years ago, Ed O'Bannon played for UCLA. He was in NCAA basketball, and he noticed that his likeness was in there, his number was in there, but his name wasn't. But everything looked like him. Even in horrible 32-bit graphics, it was still him. But he noticed, and he never saw a dime for it. So he decided to help create a campaign against the NCAA and against the gaming industry that took 20-some-odd years for it to come to this point. And I'm glad he fought for it, because I believe that because the NCAA makes billions of dollars off of players' likeness rights, yet the players don't see a dime of that. Oh, well, they should be grateful they're receiving a full ride of scholarship. Yeah, a full ride to play at a great school. Blah, 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 blah. All right, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. You go to your $45,000 a year job, and they go ahead and say, Joe Bob is our greatest employee. We're going to stick him on an advertisement that's going to generate billions of dollars for us and still pay him $45,000 a year. You don't think, Joe Bob, you're going to get pissed off about that? You're not? Yeah, sure. Okay. Talk to me when something like that happens, and then you're going to change your story. I'm not saying that they should be paid millions of dollars. What I'm saying is they should be paid their likeness rights if they're used. How I think that's going to be circumvented, Rod, is they're going to license the teams, the universities, with the NCAA, with college football. So you're going to be able to see that again. But they're going to make generic players. Now, how they circumvent that is they're going to, just like with NBA 2K and MLB The Show, they allow you to upload user-created rosters. So recruiting classes will be user-generated. There are people out there that they just spend hundreds of hours crafting recruiting and drafting profiles for these games. Like when you and I both play NBA 2K, and if you go, you can auto-generate rookies, right, to draft. You could do that as well for the NCAA football, and for Madden NFL, auto-generate rookies. Or you can go and attach this to your EA profile, your 2K profile, and you go into their account, to their cloud, and there are those created profiles by people out there and other individuals, like other gamers that create these. They spend hundreds of hours doing this, creating these players. That'll be interesting to see what will happen from there when you could upload a class that has Quinn Ayers, the South Carrollton, is that where he plays for?
South Lake Carroll.
South Lake Carroll. What if he's going to be in that next class? Are we going to talk about, should there be litigation about that? Is that technically his license? Does he have rights to that license because that was uploaded by a user that other users can access? But because EA is allowing it, are they obligated to pay the likeness rights, or is it just, are they going to post some type of disclaimer on the website that basically finds a loophole for them to get out of that deal? I don't know. All I know is it'd be cool to have UT or Ohio State or Nebraska versus Northeast Louisiana State or H-Town University, like these weird generated schools that they may do. It'll be like Mutant League Football, the old Genesis game with weird teams. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to work on a deal with NCAA to get the university rights just for the schools. But you're going to have just generic players, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
The biggest part for me was I didn't even care about stars that were like branded stars that were currently on these rosters. I liked the dynasty mode where I would go out there and recruit, and I'd spend more time recruiting, just like with Madden and NBA 2K. I spend most of my time on the GM side of those things.
Yes, sir.
That I do playing, and then I'm like, it's like 3:00 in the morning, and I'm like, well, shit, I might as well play a game of basketball. I've been playing off season for like the last 3 hours, I might as well go ahead and play a game to see if my team's getting good. But then I will tell you, like with Major League Baseball and with NBA 2K, because those seasons are so long, I simulate a lot of the game. I'm not going to lie, the seasons. And then I'm like, oh, how am I doing? And then if I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make some trades, pause the simulation, go in there, make some deals. Like, that's what I do, right?
That's right. It's career mode, man.
That's how I was with college football. Like, I'd pick a school like Texas State and like hustle to get a 5-star athlete to recruit and sign with them, and then once he's on board, then I schedule like two top 10 teams for them to play, and I somehow beat those teams, and then I get more recruits, and then
bump up the recruit.
Then next thing you know, the next freshman class I got 3 5-star recruits, and then a couple of 4-stars. And it's like all of a sudden I'm like legit then, and all of a sudden I made a school like Texas State a national championship,
national powerhouse,
even though their stadium only houses like 22,000 people, and you can't upgrade it. But that was the fun I had with it, was the dynasty mode.
Right.
Dynasty mode is great, So I'm hoping that they can figure out the licensing for the schools. I know people are panicking about that. It's still early on, guys. It's still it's not even in development phase. It's in concept, but the announcement is out there. They're bringing back college football, on the new consoles. Life is good. I got to admit, this was some good news. I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait.
Man, that makes two of us, man. I can't wait to be able to create, Galveston State University, man. And be able to recruit at a high level at Galveston State University, right?
Be on the lookout for Rod in South Orlando Tech.
You're right.
to college football. To college football on EA Sports.
Hey, freaking, the Hillsborough County Sharks, man.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the dopeness right there. That is the dopeness. But
All right,
no,
let's wrap this
no.
bad boy up, Rod. What's your parting shot for me tonight? Or for
All right, and I'm actually running off the fly on this one, man.
Okay.
I still want to give a shout out to University of Texas Longhorns men's basketball team. Saw a little ticker on my phone during this broadcast that they just lost to Baylor 83-69, and so they're in a little bit of a funk right now. They're in a little bit of a funk, and but I still think that Shaka Smart has done an excellent job with this ball club this year. I mean, I think this is probably the best job that he's done this year with this particular ball club, and so I still think they're going to make a lot of noise, in the NCAA tournament. I see them as probably a 4th or 5th seed, in whatever region that they get into. Now, if they're a 5th seed, then I'm kind of going to be dreading that, because then you got the dreaded 5-12 matchup, to where historically always seems like the 12 seeded team winds up winning. But anyways, I still like what Shaka has done with this club this year. So the only thing that I ask of Shaka to do is just, keep the hair on your head, man. Do not go bald again. Keep the hair on your head, because whatever you're doing with your hair is working for the rest of the club, man. So,
he's like Samson. He's like Samson. Don't cut off the coif, dude.
That's right. That's right, man. That's where your power is, man. So, yeah, keep the hair on your head, bud. That's my parting shot, bro.
Cool. All right. Hook 'em horns. For me, I really think about this, and I don't want to make it I didn't want to make it a major topic, so I want to talk about it as a parting shot. LeVar Ball, you got to stay out of your sons' lives, man. You're ruining their NBA careers. You got your son, you got Lonzo run out of LA because of you. It wasn't because of Lonzo. It was because of you. You blame LeBron. No, LeBron didn't want to deal with your bull. That's really it. Now you're out there tooting your own horn about the Hornets and LaMelo. In his playing time, he should be starting. He's better than everybody else in the league. That one day when LeBron, the drama queen, is out of the NBA, you're both of your boys are going to go back to LA and play. You got to stop it, man, because all you're doing is you're making it worse. You know why? Your sons have to go deal with this bullshit in the locker room. You don't have to. They do. You don't have to deal with the bullshit in the crap talking on the court. They do, not you. You don't have to deal with the fans. They do. You're creating a big problem for your sons, when they just want to go out there and ball. Like, have you noticed? I know Melo has had his issues with the law in the past, and stealing items at the store in China. I think it was China, and getting kicked out and all that whole stuff, that whole disaster. But overall, these two kids are very low key. You don't hear a lot from them verbally. They're very quiet, and it's obvious that their dad makes up for that. And, I mean, he will tell you ad nauseum how amazing these two guys are. I know he's trying to sell a brand, but he's got to stop it, because, I mean, literally, your son Lonzo had to give you millions of dollars to shut the hell up and go away. That ought to tell you something. He may love you as a dad, but as a business partner, he probably can't stand you. And I'm sure Melo feels the same way, because all you're doing is you're making their young NBA careers a lot harder than it should be. Take a step back, take your wife out on a vacation, shut the hell up, and let your sons just ball. And they'll figure it out, man, because someone will be willing to sit down and mentor them. Nobody wants to do that now, because they resent them because of you. So just take a step back. Go to the NBA game and sit there and let your son ball. Stay out of the media. Stay off the microphone. Stay out of a journalist, recording device. Just stay away. Just shut up and stay away. Let them ball. They'll get the coaching, they'll get the mentoring they need. They'll hopefully get better. And if they don't, well, they just were never true NBA material, like to be superstars to begin with. They were just bodies on an NBA court. Maybe that's really all they were ever cut out to be. And I know you're trying to squeeze as much money as you can out of them while they're there, but you know what? You're not making their job easier. Take a step back. LeVar, take a step back, go on vacation. That's it for me, guys. That's it for Rod. Rod, as always, it's a pleasure, man, to be able to do this with you.
Likewise, man.
It's a labor of love, I guess. Not really, because it's not really labor. We get to sit down and talk basketball, talk football, talk all kinds of sports for a couple hours every few weeks. Appreciate you guys for listening. If you need to find us, just type in Cap Casualties and every single media resource, social media resource, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're on Twitch as well. You can watch us live, like we're live right now as we're recording. If you're listening to the MP3, the recording, you can find us on Spotify and on hopefully we can fix the Apple thing. There's a little bit of an issue, but I'm going to fix it. But Spotify is where you can definitely find us. You can always email us, capcasualties@gmail.com, if you want to just rap with us, trade some ideas back and forth. We welcome everybody to reach out to us. All I ask is don't be a dick. Like, come on, guys. Just be cool. Be cool. We're just two guys.
It's 2021, man. Come on,
it's 2021. We got to get over the hate, man, and just like let's just make with some good positive vibes. I know there's a lot we complain about a lot with sports, but you know we have the benefit of this being something interesting and a hobby for us rather than it being life or death. And there are so many things that are going on with the world right now. Hopefully, things will get better this year, 2021. Hopefully, it will shape up to be a really good year for all of us. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you on the flip.
Peace.